Hello, welcome to our program. Today we are here with Sherri Fisher, who is an executive coach to business people, as well as a coach to parents of any kind of situations having to do with their kids, whether it's schooling or otherwise. And we have some questions for Sherri specifically about when we run into any kind of situations of anxiety. What can we do? What kind of tools can we use for having discussions about those? So we invited her on to speak about that. Hello, Sherri. Great to see you.
Hi, Sonia. Nice to be with you. Very
Nice to be
nice.
with you again. I just want to remind people, if you haven't seen this before, please go and see other Sherri videos that we have done with her. They're really, really fun. So hi again.
Hello.
Sherri, sometimes people are in a situation, whether at work or in other situations, where they feel that some weight is starting to loom on them. They have a little bit, whether you want to say it in a more serious way, like they have a little bit of an anxiety about the future, or they have some concerns about the future, about some version of the future shaping up that they may not want. What do you think people should start to do in these kinds of situations, and how can they down the road take action from this as well?
Well, right now, of course, we have lots of things to be worried about. And sometimes they're just, worries. And sometimes we really do start to feel anxious about them, especially if you are a parent and you're trying to be working and now your kids are going back to school. You've just managed to figure out what summer looks like, and now you have to figure out what fall doesn't or does look like, and nobody really knows. So noticing what is working well can be something that people think is very hard to do, but it actually is very helpful for calming you down. You and I were talking a little bit before this about what would be examples of ways that when would we feel anxious, and how would we use tools, in this case from positive psychology, to manage that anxiety and also get some other sort of side benefits besides just feeling calmer. So I always like that about positive psychology tools, because not only do you take care of whatever the thing is in the minute, but you can also build resources for the future. And that's ultimately what's going to calm you down the most, is if you feel like in the future, you're going to be able to manage these difficulties that you have.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw what might seem like a curveball at you and try to see if we can take our discussion over these 20 minutes in two different ways, first one and then the other. For those people here on our call who work in business and who have a manager or who have a client, either way, but who have a manager, if they're feeling some anxiety down the road, or they're seeing a view of the future that they don't really love, for example, if they're even wondering, are there going to be layoffs? Am I going to be affected? What is a way to start to have a conversation that puts you into a more sane space, but also voices your concerns?
Well, the first thing that I have sort of 5 things, but the first thing would be to go to your manager with something that you can thank them for. I want to thank you for X. I want to thank you for taking time to speak with me. I want to take time for, I want to thank you for sending me email to let me know that it's possible that there could be layoffs in the future. Be clear that you're grateful for what you know and for the connection that you have. The second thing is to say, I noticed, and talk about what it is that you noticed, something that you noticed that the person has done well. I noticed that in the email, you mentioned the following things. So instead of pointing out all of your fears and all the things that are going poorly, you can point out to somebody that you're grateful that they've met with you and that they've done something good and that you've noticed that good thing that they've done. The third thing is to say how you feel. I feel a little worried right now, but it's possible that this strategy that you've been using could be helpful in the future. So you're making a link between how you feel, which is worried, and the good thing that the person is doing, and you're linking those things, because that's going to help you feel calmer and the other person to feel like they might be a resource for helping move both of you forward in the future. So now you've made some teamwork, which is really nice. The next thing is to say what you want. I want to be able to stay here in this department, or I want to stay here working with a company. So you focus on your goal at that point. You tell them what it is that you want. And then the fifth thing is to say your ask. Will you please consider me when you have to make your difficult decisions, knowing how much I'd like to stay and work with you.
So this 5-step process of thank you for something, I noticed this, I feel, I want, and would you please consider, or would you please, your ask.
Yes. And that will work for any number of different situations where the outcome that you want is that you want to stay focused on what's good and is working, where you want to be able to communicate well with the person who is in charge of doing what it is you want to have get done, where you want to be having the person feel that you value and honor the work that they do in their position, and therefore you have a relationship that's worth preserving, and that you do some power sharing. So instead of going in and letting them know all the things that need to get done because you're anxious, instead you're power sharing because you're telling them what you want, but you're telling them what you want in a way that includes them so that they can make a decision that could include you.
What does the power sharing refer to?
Okay, so for example, say that you're making an ask for something. You could go in and be angry because or worried, like, who does this person think they are? And they've sent this email out to everybody in the company, and don't they know how much I'm struggling as it is? But if you go in instead using the little 5 steps, when you get to the end, in your ask, when you say, will you please consider me, you're giving the other person the opportunity to feel like they have power in the decision that would get made, and you're making an ask. And when they're not feeling like they're either put upon, or you're not insulting them, or you're not threatening them. Instead, you have a nice power share. You've shared what you need, and they have a chance to come back and give you what you want.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. That actually was really clear in this example that you and I had not brainstormed at all before, but it is something that has come up on these broadcasts. We have had this in the comments before. How do I have this discussion? I'm not sure what the future of the company, the future of my role is. How do I even start to have that discussion? So my next question for you, because I wanted to go down 2 routes in the same broadcast today. What if you're, and I'll actually put this up even, what if you're a parent? If you're a parent and you have some concerns, but you really, really want to be respectful of teachers. So you're kind of balancing that. You might have some concerns, but you want to be respectful of teachers' time. How could you use this? And I'll put it up in a moment. How can you use this same 5-step process?
Okay, so this is good. Lots of times parents don't really know what the teacher's job is. They just know that the parent job is really hard, and it gets them very wound up. The same thing we'll notice that will work. I just saw a notice. I caught that on my own eye. So here's an example. So I want to thank you for coming online before the remote class to give my daughter a preview of what to expect. Number 2, I noticed that afterwards she was much calmer about being on Zoom with the whole class. Number 3, I feel as if this could be a good strategy moving forward, at least for a while. Number 4 is I want to have her be successful with remote learning, especially since we don't know how much of the time she's going to be able to be in school versus at home. And then the 5th thing would be, will you please meet with her again before the Zoom class begins? Mm-hmm. So the nice thing about that is that the teacher is not going to feel attacked. The parent is going to be so much calmer. And the teacher, in the power sharing, the teacher is now in the position of giving the parent what the parent wants, instead of trying to do like self-preservation, like, oh, the next person is after me.
So just for my own delineating and analytical mind, it sounds like the thank you and the I noticed are about what's just happened. It's thanking you about the past. Thank you for this. I noticed this result in my daughter. She was calmer. She was more prepped. And then the next couple are about the future. I feel this would benefit her in the future. Is that accurate? I'm checking in with you.
Yes, that would be accurate.
Okay, and then the I want, so that's certainly about the future, and the will you please. So it's a little bit like the first 2/5 are about what you've noticed and what you're grateful for, and the next 3/5 are about what would be really, really helpful going forward.
Right. Well, so I feel is kind of in the middle. But the way to think about this in terms of the reason you would do this. So the first thing, to thank somebody because you've noticed what went well. And then you're going to articulate that in step 2. So you're going to be grateful, and then you're going to notice. Then for step 3, it's kind of where you are in the minute right now, and you're projecting that into the future. You're not actually like being like all future minded. That's my dog talking in the background there.
Hello, Doug. Your dog is asking for a dog example. We've done an example of how to speak with a manager, how to speak with a teacher. Come on, how do you speak with a dog, with a dog trainer?
Example. Anyway, so then you talk about what you feel. So that's like in the moment now. There, we'll give him a little pet. Maybe he'll be happier. Yes. And then when you talk about what you want, you are that's not a very distant future for what you want. You know, it's kind of very general. I want her to be successful. That's very general. It's not really like in the distance. You know, I want her to graduate with high honors. It really is just, you know, like a nice soft thing. No one would disagree with you that you want her to be successful. So when you make your ask, by the time you get there, you and the teacher are both on the same page. This would be like in the manager example too. Like the manager is going to want to keep you if you're showing that you know what's going on that's good, that you're noticing those kinds of positive things, that you're you have that general way of.
I'm enjoying hearing your dog. It's all good.
He wants his ball.
This is how we live in COVID times, and it's only great to be.
No, it is. This is here. Take this. Thank you. Good boy. He might squeak it though. I didn't think to put him in the other room because it might not work. Might not work. Okay. All right. Usually he's very quiet, and when I'm on Zoom, I'm on Zoom all the time. So okay, then we're just going to put it over there. We'll have that later. Thank you. All right. So
let me invite people. So as Sherri has demonstrated this 5-step process to us with both a manager example and an education example, let us know, drop it into the comments so far. What are your takeaways of this process? And I'll put the process back up. What are your takeaways, and where could you see trying this? Is it with a manager? Is it with a team member? Is it with a peer? Is it with your spouse, with your kids? Is it with somebody who has responsibility for your kids? Where could you imagine trying this process in order to appreciate that gratitude piece, appreciate the good, and also make a request for what's important and relevant for you? So let's take your comments, because these kinds of things, the best thing about these LinkedIn Lives is they're live, and we have Sherri with us for a few moments so we can, you know, ping pong back and forth with Sherri about these questions. So let us know what you're taking away and in what context you can use this process.
Okay.
Sherri, what else do you want to tell us about this process, whether it's about the benefits that there are for the person speaking or the person hearing, or the context in which to best use this process? Please, what other tips do you have about the process?
Oh, I like that question because that looks at kind of like the whole big picture. So everybody benefits when gratitude is used. The person who is being grateful benefits. The person who is being called out in that nicest possible use of that is also going to benefit. The other thing that happens is that you're creating a place for a communication dialogue, because you're coming to a person, instead of attacking them or pointing out all the things they're doing wrong, you're noticing what's going well. Using what went well is always valuable. Another thing is that you're giving a share of what's going well to somebody else, even if you're part of that good thing. So in the case of the parent noticed what went well at home, but they gave a share of that to the teacher by saying, I noticed what went well in this part that you did, instead of just saying, this isn't working, or I want such and such. So that's part of the power sharing too. If we're in this together, it's going to go well. So that's a relationship builder. Another thing is that when you focus on your goal that you want, no matter what situation you're in, but that goal is that future-minded way of thinking includes the other person, and you say, I want to work with you. I see us together as part of a team. The other person is also going to see themselves in that future. So you're going to be future-minded together. Whereas I imagine that the alternative, if what you did instead was you point out all the things that were wrong and what you wanted, you wouldn't get very far. And the other person will remember.
that partnership. So we think about that in coaching a lot, but this is also in many of your relationships. How are we partners on this? How do we move this forward together?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm hearing a couple of really interesting ideas here that I wouldn't have picked out just from seeing this framework, which is that sharing, your first idea of power sharing, but then even of success sharing. Here's the success,
Yeah.
but it's not only is my child having the success at home, but they're also having it due to something that's happened at school.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's not how we communicate. We're kind of in a hurry. We're really worried. We're acting out of that anxiety. We want to get the pain to go away right away. And if you use a little stepwise process, the anxiety can take a little, side road, and it'll take a longer time to get to where it's going to go. Maybe it'll stop, and anxiety will visit the beach, or feel the breeze or something. And by the time you get there, you will have a partner with you, and you'll feel a lot less anxious because you'll be on a road together.
So you keep that partnership with the person who
Yeah.
has another role in the thing that you are being concerned about.
Right. And the difference between potentially between the child parent teacher one, you have kind of like a little triangulation there. You have lots of these possible things also in the business setting. We didn't specifically look at that, but it makes a big difference, because the reason I think of it as like power sharing is that the teacher will think that they're doing the best thing for the child, and the parent will think they're doing the best thing for the child. And you could have unintentional conflicts there. And this is a way of not being in conflict when you're both really trying to move the same agenda forward. And in a business setting, that's invaluable.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to put the process up one more time. And I will just say, I can see it already in what you're saying. There's so many things that happen at home that are driven by something that's happened in remote learning. Just the type of question that the teacher has asked that then kids might ask at home in a different context, that just makes you think, oh, where did they hear this nice thing, this valuable tool, or this valuable way of problem resolution?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sherri Fisher, thank you so much. Your 5-step process for giving a suggestion when you might be concerned about something in the future is the thank you, the I noticed, the I feel, I want, and will you please. What else would you like to say to our viewers as they're watching today in terms of this process to kind of leave them in terms of thinking about using it for themselves?
Whenever you can um, focus your attention on what is working instead of what's not working, you will find that this is kind of like a natural outgrowth of that. So that would be if there's any challenge to this, it's when you're feeling a little angsty about something, to say to yourself, there's something good happening here. Even if it's just a tiny little good thing, that little tiny good can make all the difference when you noticed it. So just practice. What went well doesn't have to be something giant. You don't have to have found the cure for COVID-19, right? That'd be nice. When you find that out, I want to know. But when you're able to just notice small nice things, not even just, well, at least blah blah blah. Like, it doesn't have to be Eeyore either. It's not that polar. It's finding small good things, and especially in our relationships, being able to point those out to other people. That's what makes it possible for us to move forward together, and everybody benefits.
And one key in what I'm hearing you say is, you might be concerned, but don't go with that concerned energy to a meeting. Flip it. So change yourself, whatever you need to do, breathe, go for a walk, reframe it. Maybe even, it almost sounds like write it down in these sentences, but get into that other mindset before you present that to someone else.
Well, that's a great idea. So we didn't really, we just jumped right in here. We didn't preface this with a very specific kind of problem. And, would you do mindfulness exercises, which you certainly could do to get started, or would you breathe, or would you walk? But recognizing on your own that you're feeling anxious certainly is a good precursor to this. But focusing on what it is that's making you anxious, you might not know. Maybe you're just feeling anxious. Sometimes when you don't know, you're carrying that around. You go into a meeting, and before you know it, the meeting has turned into something that's not at all what anybody really, would say was going to be the most productive use of everybody's time. Whereas if you have a little script, sometimes it can make a big difference.
Sherri Fisher, thank you so much. Big, big gratitude to you for this. Thank you. This was a wonderful session.
Thank you. All right.
All the best, and see everyone again. We're here Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific. All the best.
All right.